popular demand. All right, at 6 o'clock, I will call this meeting to order. Roll has been taken. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ross, second by Dick to approve the agenda. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Minutes of the previous meetings.
Motion to approve them.
Have a motion.
Second.
Motion by Dave, second by Dick to approve the minutes of the previous meetings. Any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Public appearances. Let the record show that. Monthly business. Approve the vouchers and the checks.
Approve the.
Motion by Ross, second by Dave to approve the vouchers and the checks. Any questions or?
I do have one question for Lori. This Jarvis Industries stuff with the phones,
Yes,
I mean, I'm assuming that all this, some of this is part of that on here?
yeah, there's the annual licenses that we have for our Microsoft Office and the different softwares. There's a one-time charge, and then the first one, IT services, that's the yearly amount that they charge us for the utility to be on call as far as IT.
So it's incorporated
service.
within our contract, all
Yes.
their site visits?
Yep. Yeah, I've never gotten a separate invoice from them at all, or anything that they've done.
Just so you guys are aware that we've been having a ton of phone issues for the last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
so like
more?
6 months. Yeah, they changed from 3XS to something else, the VoIP system or something.
And I know
Curtis
this,
was just in the other day.
I know this is a city combined service, and the new phone systems that they went to, you don't get any information on your voicemails now. You used to have a timestamp of when they called, the voicemail, now you go to it. A lot of times we were getting dropped voicemails, like, it would say 45 seconds, but there'd be no audio recording, so that was part of the issue. Another issue is, all of a sudden you get 5 messages, but you don't know when they called. You don't know what time they did, if you already addressed the issue or not, and, so I don't know if,
We also have a problem with transferring calls in between, or if an outgoing call comes in and we transfer it to Nick's phone, a lot of times his light will blink, but nothing happens. And then, the
I constantly
interdepartment,
have to reset my phone.
Yeah.
So you try to call somebody and it just won't ring.
yeah.
So you know, is it working until you restart it?
Right, so we did talk to Curtis, who was in the other day, and he said the way to get around the voicemails is to have them, they can have it emailed to you, so that you at least have the timestamp on it. And it's supposed to have a link that you can actually listen to the voicemail then, but that Pam tried to do that and it didn't work. But we at least got notification by email that we have a voicemail, and we were able to get a time and date it came in.
So, I just wanna make you guys aware, it's really frustrating, you're paying a significant amount of money to have an operating system, and it's not working for us. The old system seemed like it was working fine, then they did this
Yeah.
new update, now it's been.
Yeah,
Did the old system, James, have anything to do with it?
yeah.
Yeah.
They said it was the provider, of the actual phone service, and that they changed something, from
Provider or something.
a different, yeah, a different provider because of the amount of, work it was for them to be able to service the phone system, that they couldn't get into the back end of everything to be able to actually do any changes or whatever to the phone system, so they went with this new phone system and they can access it easier to do whatever they need to do to troubleshoot it or whatever they do. But the rest of the system sucks.
But I would be curious to see what the city feels on the phone system, and is there something we can do to address
Oh, yeah,
this?
'cause, yeah,
Is this
Kaylee-
automatically renewable the beginning of every year?
Yes.
Not automatic.
Well, it's not automatically. They
We
send
have
us
We have the choice, but I was trying to go back to, just give you a history lesson here, when we strung the fiber from here all the way out to the treatment plant, and picked up the buildings along the way. Dennis Sheldon was our clerk at that time, and he was looking at it real hard and heavy. Took care of all our email issues and our interdepartment connections with, that way, but he says, I really think we should think twice about adding the phone system to this, because I don't see we're gonna be saving any money. And then we gotta pay for fixing it all the time. Well, the former mayor, he said, well, we've dealt with this enough, we're moving on this, we're moving forward with it, and it all switched over. Even with the recommendation, I said, I think we should think twice about this as well. At least if you're running charter phones or something like that, if there's an issue, they gotta take care of it, and you don't pay out of pocket at all. So maybe we should really start looking at this again, you know, I guess the fiber is working okay, you know, as far as everything else, but if we continue to own our own phone system, and the big hang-up was, we needed a fax line out by the treatment plant. That was the big hang-up. We still needed at least one outside line coming in and out there and what have you, but, yeah, I'll go along with you, Nick, that's a big chunk of change to be paying every year, you know, versus just a monthly fee to charter or something like that,
And
that we could,
that's just the
don't have,
utility.
won't be on the hook for repairs, you know, whatever. Call them up and say, hey, this is down, get butt here to get it fixed, you know, whatever.
And I don't know what portion of that is phone systems,
No,
but
they,
it's,
when the server goes down or anything, that's all included in that type of stuff.
Well, I do know when Paul Shanks was on there, it sounded like it was a very good deal to go with them at that time, you know, that's quite a few years ago now already, to get away from, you know, what we had previously, and we had all kinds of problems with InterQuest taking care of this stuff as well, so.
and like I said, we had a little hiccup when Javis took over, and then it was solid
Good.
for a
Mhm.
while.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
And then
Yeah.
they did this new
It's like
provider
June or
update
July
or
last
whatever,
year.
and it's been just,
And is he aware of that? I mean, if
Oh,
you,
oh yeah, we call them every week, it almost
Oh,
seems
yeah,
like it
yeah.
sometimes.
I mean, if you asked him point blank, how come we didn't have these issues before, just since you did the update?
Oh, and that's
I
what
usually-
I asked Curtis, the IT guy, and he said it's because they had to change from this 3XCS to wait, whatever that is. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I'm all in favor of you looking into it and pushing forward and saying, hey, what the heck's going on here, you know?
Cause this is
And I
just
would-
the utility section.
And I would assume
You know,
the city's
city-
having issues too,
Yes,
like
they-
that I've heard, but
Yeah, Megan and Kaylee and.
I don't know, it's getting to the point where it's
Let us know.
gonna be really frustrating, especially.
What
when-
about transferring in between buildings and stuff? Is there
Yep.
issues there?
Yep, that's almost as bad, if not
That's-
worse than, if you call somebody in, like, the other day I called out to the treatment plant, and I went to call the office number, or the office phone, and I thought, oh, I wanna talk to Peggy, so I hung up and I called Peggy, and, in the lab, and ended up that it just blink, 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 nothing happens, and then your phone goes dead, it resets,
I get that
and
a
then you
lot
get to,
after
yeah,
something,
so.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
We can't
It's,
have that.
well, and we also have customers that call in, and there was a lady that called and she said that she's been trying to get through to us all week, that it always went straight to voicemail. Our phone would never ring, it'd go to voicemail, she tried to leave a voicemail, couldn't always leave, or decided not to leave a voicemail. Then she calls back like Thursday, Pam was out, so I was taking the calls, she calls and my phone rang twice and then there was nobody there. So then she ended up just coming in, she's like, I can't get through, she wanted to pay her bill over the phone, and so she just came in instead. So we've been letting Javis know all of those instances, and they're able to, if we know the time and date and whatever, they're able to look at their logs and see what actually is going on, but I don't know if there's anything they can actually do about it.
It's not better.
It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not acceptable.
Right, that's for sure.
Pay a lot of money for
Yeah.
something that doesn't work decent.
And it's business. I mean,
Right.
it's time dated and everything, you need that.
Anyways, that's all I had on there. You guys had a motion
Oh.
or a second?
It would be something to look into.
Okay,
I don't know who,
I'll talk to Megan and Kaylee and see what their feelings are,
Ross.
and if there's some options that they know of, or,
Ross made the motion.
yeah. Ross made the motion, Dave seconded the motion,
yeah.
so. Motion, we had a motion and a second to approve the vouchers and the checks. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Fire month income statement. Anybody have any questions or comments on the income statement? Moving on. Consumption and loss. Anybody have any comments on that? Okay, we'll move on. Totals of delinquent customers. Boy, same amount 2 months in a row. I was, no,
We did have one customer pay, it's kind of an awkward situation. Noticed that one of the meters that was disconnected, all of a sudden they started having some usage. And he's current right now, right?
Who's that?
He's current now, right? That-
For,
On South Street. He said, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Anyways, we got Pam was doing some load data, looking at some meters that were disconnected, and she noticed that one of them all of a sudden picked up load out of the blue. So I went there, and now this is the second time it's happened, and when we disconnect someone, we tab out the meter, meaning we have voltage at the top side, line side of the meter socket, and we tab out the bottom. So our meter is still working, that way we can track to make sure that it's energized but open, not using load. And so these tabs don't let the power run through the meter and going into the load side of the socket into the main. And this is the second time now that those brand new tabs have failed, and all of a sudden we'll start letting voltage through. So I contact the person, and there doesn't seem to be any foul play as far as tampering with the meter. The seals were on our seals, and so we're gonna keep. He ended up talking to him, and I said, like, hey, like, I noticed you guys got dogs in the house, like, what's going on here? So he ended up paying in his current now on his bill, and so we ended up putting this meter back on. I asked him a bunch of questions. Like I said, I don't think there's any foul play there, but I don't know why that's happening. Something seems fishy, but
Just wonder if that could be dangerous for, if you're not expecting
Well, what I'm gonna be looking at closer next time, I'm wondering if there was like an arc at one point, there's a little piece of molten metal when I'm pushing that meter of those plastic tabs in, that it's cutting those tabs that I just can't quite see inside those jaws. That's the only thing I can think of, but.
What kind of consumption?
He was only using half his panel because he was trying to conserve energy before he was shut off. So it was very minimal. We're talking, the bill was only like $50 or something like that. So I did look what the kWh was. Basically looked like it was just the furnace, but anyways, he's current, he's back on. So one person did pay in this.
And I apologize, I printed the wrong form off because I updated it and then apparently it didn't save properly. But we're at about $10,000 more outstanding for the current month than 29, so I think we're at like 38,000 right now, total.
Thanks.
And we have been noticing there's a lot more people that are just not paying. They'll wait until spring.
Okay,
Guess another thought on that, Nick, I think you use the same type of boots that Alliance used, don't you? Except I think they got a little bit more of a flare where they set again, after you push them over the terminal on the meter, they got a little more area that flares out around them. Is there any, I was just trying to think, that's why I was asking you about consumption. Are we talking a kilowatt, or we talking, 50 kilowatts or 150 kilowatts, where there could be leakage around that tab, like you said, through moisture or something like that, but how much are you talking?
Well, because I left that meter in and I was testing voltage. I had full voltage on both. Like, good current went through that meter because I kept the meter in and then measured on the bottom side and yeah. So I'm like, what? How is this even possible? I'm like, you can see the tabs in there and it's covering it. Like I said, I don't know if there's just, and the tabs are cracked. You can see that they cracked.
Yeah.
But they were brand new ones. They're not reusable, so they're brand new every time when they come out of the bag. And second time now in the last 4 months that this has happened.
So we contact the supplier, find out if it's happening
It's
elsewhere?
only on that one meter though. We put these
Same place.
they're all over. It's just that meter side. It's not like it's. Well, so I'm thinking there's got to be like a little speck of molten metal that's clinging onto all those jaws and it's cutting the tabs when you push them in.
Strange.
We plan on jumping the meter here and taking a look at it closer.
okay. Reports of officials. Lori.
I don't have anything. I was gonna bring up the phone system also, so we covered that already. Otherwise, yeah, we've been noticing people are getting a little slower to pay. And, otherwise it's been kinda quiet.
Audit preparation.
Lots of audit preparation, yes. Thank you for reminding me. Worked on accumulated depreciation today. That was
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Lori? If not, moving on. Nick?
Alright, so the first I got on the list is discuss possibly approve underground contract bid. So with this larger transmission project underway, we decided that we were gonna put a bid out for that work. But instead of just pinpointing to that job, we decided to do a unit-based bid so that this covers any other construction that we would decide to do throughout the year. Like our street lighting that we're gonna bore on Miller Street, if there's any emergency outages that we need to bore in a new stretch of the road, etc. So we did sent the bid out. It's a multi-year, meaning there's no mandate saying we're locked in for a year, or we're not locked in for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, etc. At any point, we can pull from this contract and go with another contractor of our choice. But the way this is they gave us unit pricing for like 2-inch bore, 4-inch bore, 6-inch bore, 1.25 inch, open trench, pulling wire in, setting structures, everything you can possibly think of is in this bid. They give us a unit price per foot or per X amount of feet. And we did it. We got some responses back. As you see, there are contracts for JNR Underground, MP Systems, Michaels, Cooks Telecommunications, and H&H Excavating. And with this bid, and you guys are more than happy to look at this too, but I went through line item by line item of what we would utilize in any projects, and did a comparison with the unit pricing based on what we would use. And from that, we found that JNR Underground was the contractor to choose. The next closest was MP Systems, followed by Cooks and H&H. And it was a drastic difference. We're not talking, a few $1,000s. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. And the way this bid then works from, say, next year is they use the Handy Whitman Index. So every year, the Handy Whitman Index has a unit pricing increase every year. Let's say Wisconsin 6-inch pricing index for boring increased 1.5%. That would then get transferred to this contract. Unit pricing would just inflate that X amount. And at any point, we can say, hey, looking at the Handy Whitman, we think it's inflating higher than what it actually is, and we can have them rebid a new contract. Currently, the bid is out with our city attorney. He's reviewing. There were some changes that JNR made to some of the verbiage, and everything I seems all right, but I wanted them to verify that anything that they changed, they agree with as well. So what I'm looking for today is approval to award the bid to JNR Underground with the possibility of any changes from the city attorney if they see fit for this multi-year bid.
So all four contractors are bidding the same apples for apples?
Apples for apples.
Do you have the spread on the, you said they're tens of thousands, I kind of like to see what the
So-
pricing is between them.
Yep, I can give you, I did just a unit pricing breakdown, and then I also did, in the bid itself, there's a form that has the overall bid separation. If you just went per footage, which would be a lot smaller, you're looking at 10 feet. We're looking at 10,000 difference between, I won't say the names, I don't know if maybe we can do that, but between 1 and 2, there's a $10,000 difference just in per foot, which then blows up when you're talking,
Right.
X amount of feet. So just in unit pricing, I'm seeing, there's one company, there's the other company, that's $10,000 difference, another company, $15,000 difference, just in unit pricing. And it turns out to be like $30,000, $40,000 plus, but I can give you that breakdown, absolutely.
Okay, I'm just kind of curious. I've always been a guy that likes to go local.
Right. No, and
It's the fact that, we've
And at
had
any
one
point-
contractor that did a lot of it for us over the years.
And what I wanted important with this bid is that we weren't locked into, we're not even locked in for the full year. We can at any point pull from this bid and.
And what happens when this low contractor is so booked up, we can't get him?
So I met with them, we have done a job with them 5 years ago.
I know.
And they do excellent work. They said they added 3 different crews in the area. Emergency response is within 24 hours, so they are able to pull away from the job. In this bid, they do have an emergency unit price too. I'm actually more worried about our local contractor not being able to do work in this case now.
I just don't want him to have the attitude that,
No, and I had a conversation with them. I told him,
Okay.
because the writing's on the wall right now as far as what's happening there.
Sure.
And there's not gonna be, he knows that he's having a hard time to stay competitive, and I don't know if he wants to be that big anymore, to be honest.
I understand, I just, yeah.
But yeah, at any point we can pull out, go with the more local guy if they are able to come back and be competitive again, and that's was the most important thing when we did this bid, is that we're not locked in for a long time.
Good way to do it.
Okay. What is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we award the contract to J&R Underground LLC contingent on approval from our city attorney.
Okay. I have a motion, is there a second? Motion by Dick, seconded by Ross to award the contract to J&R Underground LLC. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
All right, moving on to project updates. Staub has paid the invoice for the wastewater treatment plant transformer. That included our employee hours and the repair and freight to send that transformer back to B&B Transformers. They also have signed the structural warranty that I drafted and had approved by the city attorney as well. So we are covered, you know, it spreads for everything. It's pretty detailed freight. Any fixes, even in the case if B&B suggests that a new transformer is needed, it's stated in there that they will pay for full cost of transformer. So we are covered in the structural warranty through that document that was signed by Staub. The Eddie Joss field, we rented the 135-foot man basket. We were able to complete the work in a day to get the lights removed down to where we now can handle with the digger derrick. Unfortunately, I scheduled it and it landed on that negative 20-degree day, and we were freezing our butts off, but we got her done. So we are planning on actually removing the rest of the poles tomorrow, depending on ground firmed up like it was supposed to. So it worked out good, and we're under budget with I think it was $3,500 for it was like $2,300 or something like that. So.
Yep. Even the ones that got the streetlights on?
Yeah, so we're cutting above the streetlights.
I saw that.
Yep, we're gonna cut right above, and then I'm gonna retest those again to see what those look like, and if we need to replace those with permanent ones or new wood poles, we will.
Really get more stress on them now.
Right. I mean, honestly, the poles weren't, what scared me was the long vertical deep cracks that were halfway up the poles where all the weight was. I was actually surprised on how heavy those, I mean,
Good poles.
I'm guessing those fixtures were probably 550 pounds easily. We had to take them piece by piece, and the first pole was definitely a learning curve. We're like, oh, we can handle this, you know, and you cut off the section, you're like, holy cow, this is way better than you thought it was.
Dead
but-
weight.
Yeah, so, no, it worked out, and at least,
The ballast in them.
oh yeah.
When I was wrestling those up and down the ladder, Ross ran the ladder that time. I don't think I could do it today.
Well, and I can't believe the amount of lights that were working up there, to be
Yeah.
honest, because the insides of those were bad.
What are you doing with the fixtures?
So the fixtures are in the city scrap dumpster. I looked up the value if we could trade them in or sell them on eBay, and there was no market for them. We would probably get better pricing with the scrap, so they went to the city scrap.
Those are 1,500 watt metal halides, so.
No
L-
one's, yeah.
LED is.
Yep.
But I looked on eBay, and you could, for all of them, you might have been able to get $150 for them or something like that, which. But everything else was scrapped out at the. Alright. We reconductored riser pole by Village Garden. This was that riser pole that we used to loop feed the South Street, South Fairfield, Arbor Drive area when we lost that underground feed right by crossing the vet, or the old vet clinic, or the puppy daycare, whatever. But we ended up upgrading that conductor size to accommodate its actual intended use, which is a 200 amp riser. That was really conductor light. I think it was like number 6 copper, which was only good for, it was like 80 amps, the kind that was up there. So we ended up reconductoring that so that it's actually adequate if this would happen in summer, that we're not gonna be running into issues. Open Point update, that software that was budgeted for 2025 is moving along smoothly. We just had a meeting last week. The GIS map is getting finalized, and we will start doing our inspections. We'll be collecting our asset data, meaning year of installation, wire size, getting real specific so that our reporting is accurate as far as the depreciation year we're sitting at. It's gonna be difficult, it's gonna be a lot of work, some guessing, there's definitely gonna be guessing going on because we don't know when certain sections of lines were replaced. Might have to ask you, Dan, from here to here to see, do you know when this possibly, even if it's a 10-year.
Oh, I can get within 10 years.
At least it gets us
Probably even closer to 5.
because there's some areas where you can go off of what year the transformer was installed, but I mean, if that transformer was replaced, it doesn't help you. So we're gonna be collecting all that information, improving our transformer loading data, meaning we're gonna have all the meters tied to secondary services, which then will tell us where our transformers are loaded or underloaded. We've been working on that already, but this is, and we're gonna be identifying our phasing and our single phase. I mean, everything is phased in the system, but as far as phase identification, whether it's A phase, B phase, or C phase from the sub. And we have a scheduled phase identifier from WPPI that clips on at the substation. You can go anywhere out in that circuit and identify what phase it is. So we're gonna be we'll be doing a lot of feet on the ground the next month.
That's good winter work.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of snow too, so it's like, let's get it done now. PSC, I uploaded the preventative maintenance report. This is a biannually report that we do. What it is it notifies the PSC that we are adequately replacing and inspecting our system. We do a 33.33% inspection of our system every year. And with this Open Point though, we will be doing 100% of our system this year, so the whole system will be inspected, but then we will transfer right back onto that 33.33% inspection annually. It also gives them the data for our substations, that we test them every third year. It just shows them that we're putting effort into our system, replacing where we need to, and making sure that we're keeping our outages to a minimum. Let's see. Our trucks went in for testing, the digger and bucket. This is the annual test that we do. Even though our bucket truck is newer, we still get it tested to get onto that schedule. Both trucks did have some things noted, and both trucks were 90% of it, 95% of it was warranty work. Some of it was some minor, some levels were missing, stickers weren't placed where they need to be. But they also get filter rotations. The hydraulic oil is low, they do that, tire pressure, they test the booms, they test the insulating liner in the buckets. They do load testing on the boom for stress, dielectric of the boom, so that's all good. Utility sales and service, this is a contract through joint purchasing through WPPI, so they're the cheapest. It's either, get 2 manufacturers that can do it, it's either utility sales or service or Alltech, and utility sales. So, and that's where our trucks are from, so it's nice to have that. Doing some more tree trimming along the Goose Trail, which also brings up part of my budget was to do some tree planting along the trail. I don't know if you guys want to have discussion of what types of trees you wanna plant, or just let me handle it. You guys can talk about it, it's up to you. When?
Where?
It would be along the Goose Trail, where we're taking up the significant amount of trees is from Center Street going north out of town. So behind,
So by the park there.
Depot Street, yeah, Goose Park, and preferably more shorter trees that we're not gonna be infringing on utility lines for X amount of years later.
We're obligated to do that? From the ones we removed? or-
We're not obligated, it was just a kind of a, I know we have had a lot of complaints up there,
Yeah.
with all the trees were taken down, but I mean, they're dead ash trees, so we're trying to keep the community happy and showing that we're not.
So what kind of trees you thinking?
To be honest, I haven't even thought about it yet.
You aren't thinking that, okay.
Hard maples that grow slow.
Yeah, right, so then I don't have to worry about it. Perfect.
That's what I look at it.
Kids wanna do like an Arbor Day thing or something, help you guys? or-
And we can turn it into, been talking to Eric a little bit with, WPPI, which we'll be talking about the new ASM when that happens, but we might as well make it a PR thing, yeah. But I think DPW budgeted money as well,
For trees, I believe so.
but that might be more geared towards the park.
There's also talk about putting the library wants to put up some stuff there, so.
Well, just keep it in the back of your minds,
Plant trees.
Hold on.
Library walk.
Yeah.
The library
Library
book walk or
Book
whatever
walk,
it is.
yeah.
What's that tree place in Waterloo?
Okay.
McKay.
I mean, they're probably the easiest to work for as far as this is the setting we got, what do you suggest, they're gonna pay for it, they're more expensive as far as, Young's. Rents, yeah.
Does the
So I'm
county-
open to anything, we can
Does the
talk about
county
it.
offer trees?
There's free trees that you can get through the county, or cheaper trees, but I don't know
Aren't
if
they
we would.
usually like this high?
Yeah,
They
I think
usually
we
about
would,
a foot tall.
I think we'd probably buy
Yeah.
bigger trees right away, so it doesn't, I don't know, whatever. But I just wanted to bring that up, we'll be talking about that more, to come.
Now, the ownership of the trail is really the county's, right?
Yes, but through the Juneau, there is a signed agreement that we maintain it.
Oh, there is, okay. I just know every time, and Dave can tell you that too, DPW goes out there, and I deemed what they were cutting was more or less brush. I mean, there was nothing really attractive of what they cleaned out, but man, did we catch all the way off.
Well, we got a lot of, it was more so the east side of the trail and the east side of the ditch, along,
Dead Creek.
the Goose Park. Why can't I remember? Highland Street.
Highland Street.
We got a lot of flack from those people that live along Highland Street, but.
Well, in my opinion, that underbuilt is about 20 feet too low
Well,
anyway. all the way
look at
through
that one
there.
pole by the Goose Park there.
Just ridiculous why that was done that way. We spent good money for putting up those big poles, and then underbuilt was like clothesline height,
Yeah.
you know, virtually. It is pathetic when you go back there, how close it is to the ground, you know.
And outside of that, we're working on inventory for audit. So, yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Nick? If not, moving on. Alan?
I did make a point to ask for change orders at this meeting. Working with MSA, we decided that we didn't have our ducks in a row quite yet to start asking for things. All I had seen was a list of things that we wanted to have done with prices. I said, well, what is this? And they didn't have that prepared, so. We're gonna push that back to, I'm hoping to have everything prepared and potentially call a special meeting later in the month, because it's gonna be, this is gonna be probably the big one for the project. Our initial tally was almost $200,000, so I'm assuming the meeting's gonna take a while to talk through everything.
What kind of
So-
stuff is it that you're getting?
It's everything that's left. It's,
Blacktop and
Yes.
stuff.
I looked at it.
things that were,
Alex asked me about it, and I said that we should be able to schedule one later this month, hopefully. Tentatively, I've got one scheduled for February 17th, which is a Monday.
so I figured it might be worthwhile to have that be its own meeting, cause it's probably gonna get long-winded. And both Sherry and Kira would be here to explain the, things that are needed, so. That's our current plan, unless we find that, 17th, it has conflicts with other meetings. I don't know when,
I don't think there's nothing,
I think there's an election the next day, but there's no meetings usually on that Monday.
Are these gonna be like
yeah.
wish
Yeah.
list item stuff, or is it stuff that they
Things
just didn't
that-
have in the contract?
Things
or-
that, things that didn't get designed the way that they should have been designed in the first place, things that got missed from original design. Things that, yeah, just aren't working, that we're making work right now.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, it's
Would
not,
it be
it's not
help-
trucks and tractors, it's.
Right, yeah,
it's
cause
a-
they had,
You know,
one of the girls had mentioned about, got all
Right.
this extra money, we should
We're-
just start spending it.
we're not to that point. Yeah, it's cleaning up all the little things that the contract didn't catch, so.
Would it be helpful to have the meeting out there or not?
We certainly could, it's not a bad idea, at least you guys can see it. Yeah, and
It would work.
the
I
site
mean, we
is-
got nothing that should stop it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's actually a really good idea. The site's getting cleaned up right now to the point where,
It's something up around all the basement.
yeah, most of that's out. Everything's getting really cleaned up. It's starting to look like a, yeah, like a treatment plant again, I guess.
You know?
So, no, that's my recommendation for that point. I don't think you have to make a motion or anything.
No.
Um, Moving to my projects update. I had mentioned last month that we had issues with our ammonia discharge. That continued into this month. For December, I did have to report 1 monthly violation, 5 daily violations, and 1 weekly violation. So it was almost all of our ammonia discharge samples were violations, so that wasn't good. That continued through most of January, but working with Evoqua, the ditch manufacturer, and MSA, we changed a million different things, and now levels have returned to acceptable levels within our permit. They've actually gone down to basically 0. So it's working again.
Is there a fee associated with these fines?
I don't know.
I was just
No, I
curious.
don't know. We did have one oddball.
Have you ever seen a fine actually be currency with DNR?
I don't
heard
think
of it.
so.
Not my
I
years
think it,
ago, this-
I think it's once if it persists.
Yeah.
Cause
More of
like
a
we,
notification thing to the public.
Whatever. Last winter, we had one set of 2 days that we had bad ammonia discharges that we got the notice of non-compliance, but I never saw anything after that.
I've
so.
never heard one, but I was just curious.
Yeah, I think their biggest thing is just to say, hey, are you guys actually working on this? And if it persists, then it becomes an issue, but yeah, so at the end of January, numbers came back down to 0, so we're hoping from now on that we're good. The only problem is to get it to work, we changed umpteen parameters, and we don't know what the fix was. Now we have to work our way back one by one to see what actually was the golden bullet to fix it. Because right now we're, with the way we're running, it's consuming more energy, and it's, all different things that we're not necessarily hoping to keep doing. So we'll have to be vigilant and work our way back to the desired settings, and hopefully we don't run into those issues again. In the meantime, for December, I wound up having another notice of non-compliance for my phosphorus discharge as well. I violated by 16 1/1000ths of a pound. So typically I try to run at 60 to 70% of my limit, just because if you run too low, you're wasting money, and if you run too close, it's risky. But just with the way we had, I think our phosphorus analyzer wasn't working right for a short period there, and
Did you see that?
since it had some high flow days too, which skewed our results.
Did you see that they had, was it Tammy Bowman at Hartford to discuss the phosphorus?
No.
Because they're running into the same thing with their phosphorus, and it's like, what you are requiring us to do is so
Right,
minuscule, it's
I mean,
impossible to maintain it.
If one of my phosphorus, so we sample 12 phosphorus samples a month. If one of my samples was 200ths lower, we wouldn't have violated. So it's just, sometimes you just get unlucky, I guess. But, that's a balancing game between, you don't wanna waste money on chemical, running it way lower than you need to, but that's one thing we ran into this month. LW Allen was here, and they did complete the replacement of the raw pumps that we purchased. They are showing about a 21% increase in flow overall, so we picked up a bunch of capacity with this replacement. The techs that were there to install them noted that a typical lifespan of this pump is 20 to 25 years, with rebuilds lasting roughly 10 to 12 years. So if they were, 40 plus years old, we did pretty good. And they, in looking at the ones that came out and the condition of the bearings and the housings, they said it wasn't really worth keeping any of them, because the parts are so readily available that if you needed even a bearing housing, they can get it pretty quickly. So we wound up scrapping the old units out. But yeah, so those are successfully installed. We did replace the whole seal water system as well, because we had some issues with the old pumps, the seal filters, seal water filters were just of poor quality, so we put in a new system. I'm working with L&S Electric to hopefully get the motors rebuilt next. L&S bought out WW in the pond, which we typically work with in the past. I don't know if you guys have had any experience with them. They do a lot of stuff in year-round work too. So, we're working on getting pricing on that. Otherwise, this month, we started up this new stair screen and wash press, started up the new FE system, so the new vinyl effluent pumps, and they run on VFDs now, which figuring out the settings has been interesting, to say the least. Sand filters went back online, so that's another part of probably why our phosphorus violations were a little bit more hard to treat, because we didn't have our sand filters either. So those went back online. They are set up to backwash on their own, so we shouldn't have to do any input on it, but the biggest thing that we're continuing to work through is the programmer is still building all the pages and controls for how everything can work. So we're working through how we wanna control all these processes, and it takes time to kind of fine tune how we want everything set up. So that will continue to be a struggle getting it all set up to our liking on how we wanna control it. As of after next week, Staub and Peter are both planning to be done with their continuous work. Some subcontractors will remain on site for small things like insulation and painting. But otherwise, any work that'll be done, they'll just be coming in a day or two at a time. So they're more or less gonna be completely off site in the next couple of weeks here. With the cold weather, we had 2 different customers that have homes that were known to be vacant. So we actually had to make the tough call by watching water usage. We actually had to shut the water off at the curb on 2 of these vacant homes because they were known to be vacant, and you could see the meter just spinning, so you knew something was wrong in the house. So one of them, you could actually see ice form, like icicles forming on the outside of the house. So you gotta make the call, like, I guess I'm gonna get on the hook here for shutting your water off, but thankfully, both of the homeowners were grateful that we did that for them. But I don't love making this decision on my own, but
Are these properties current with their bills?
I believe so, yeah. The one was like 10,000 gallons, it was a lot more.
Yeah, for sure.
I did wind up selling the old aeration blowers that we had at the wastewater plant to Sensia, who has come up with a plan to repurpose them within their wastewater plant. I did give them a pretty fair price, but it came up with what the scrap rate was on it and added about 40%, so we made a little bit of money and did a good deed for our industrial customers, so. Last thing is anybody familiar with our contract with Verizon on the tower at the wastewater plant? So, they just built out all new stuff to add T-Mobile and US Cellular to their tower. Is that within the contract?
They can do,
They can do whatever they want.
they have,
Whatever they want.
they can add anything they want to that tower.
Remember at one point they asked us to lower it because we weren't getting
They,
people on
yeah,
it?
they wanted to, after they negotiated the price, they wanted us to lower it because, my suggestion to them was, get somebody else to latch onto the tower. And then you can turn that cost over to them. You made an agreement with us, and that's what we're keeping.
It's a 100-year contract, wasn't it?
There's a third party involved with all of that handles the tower and the contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's American Tower.
Yeah, American something.
Yeah.
you know.
And they told us how much they wanted to pay.
They told, well, I mean, it was it
Sizable.
seemed like a nice, very good contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, our city attorney reviewed that several times, every time then they would always call me up and want me to commit and what have you. And I said, no, I said,
And it's- there's
as long as we're under
inflationary
contract,
rate
I'm in
agreement.
favor of what we got right now. I don't think we're
I-
gonna.
I just wanted to make sure.
I signed that contract,
It's
the new
taken
one,
up.
so
They can put as many.
I think the left final year, they're gonna pay us.
Just 3 meters or so. I think we can only have.
It was crazy.
It's an escalating contract.
Yeah.
You know, we're good right where we are, as every year we get a little bit more. And,
I
yeah.
think it's in
It was a great deal.
It was every 3 years it goes
And then
up.
that's the money you get to use for your budget.
Right. All right, is that it?
That's all I got.
Does anybody have anything for Alex?
We did go on record though a while back that the monies received on that contract would be used for upgrades around the plant. So, blacktopping was what was paid
Right.
for that one time and what have you, so.
The gas line was supposed to be through that this last time.
Yep. I don't know how much money we we're generating currently, but it's not chump change by any means.
No.
But they wanted to buy it out. That's what the third party, they wanted to buy it out, only for them to negotiate then and line their pockets, I'm sure.
Plus the inflation.
So,
All right, moving on. Under the president's report, there's a change, a proposed change for the wastewater treatment plant operators. It's what the, Brian from Boardman, wording on that is what he suggested, I wanted, and we sent it to him, and he sent it back with the change, and this is the final one. All it does is specify that it, premium pay, he wanted that premium pay in there and to explain what it was. And otherwise, it's, you know, really the only change from what we had accepted before.
So if they work on Sunday, they're not getting overtime on Friday,
That is,
because it's premium pay.
yeah, that was the question I had, and you brought it up, and I asked many times about it, and they all said, no, they're fine. So I said, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
As long as everybody understands, we aren't making any changes, really, we're just changing the words.
Yeah, says the same thing, but we're changing the words.
not asking them to flex their time.
Don't bring up that. You're gonna bring that up. Okay. I will make a motion to approve the change to section 201, item 1. To the new language.
I'll second that.
Okay. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. All right. The only other thing I got, the 20th of February is the sewer plant update meeting. That's for anybody that wants to attend that.
10 a.m. for this one.
What?
10 a.m.
10 a.m. at the wastewater plant.
Is there anything different than just a normal?
It's just a normal meeting, but in case anybody, I thought I'd bring it up in case somebody wants to attend. And I thought, it hit me right away, the annual meeting for WPPI comes up in September 17th to the 19th, and it will be in Green Bay. So if any of you would like to attend it, there's some pretty good information that you can gather. So, put that in your minds. I know Dave went with me one year, and I think he learned a lot. So, that is all I have. Anything from you, Mr. Mayor?
Just that I think once everything's complete out at the treatment plant, we should schedule an open house, spring of the year, when things start greening up and people can walk freely or
Yeah.
get tours or whatever. I think it's a good idea.
The biggest thing is depends on when they get asphalt in
Sure.
and landscaping all done.
But certainly an asset to our community. I'm hoping it's gonna work out well for you, Alex, and hope it saves us on some treatment costs and what have you. Being able to ramp things up and idle things down, so.
That's definitely something that we have to walk with. On the electric side, I think, I don't know if you guys have a trending billing software. We can see already if we're using more or less.
definitely got to be less demand with those areas, with those irrigation equipment, those blowers kicking in and what have
Yeah,
you.
we can, everything running as it should.
I hope
As
it
it
lasts
went.
40 years like the last one.
Do you know what date it would have been, like September? And then Dan, I just got a question. Can both Alex and I be included with any news of potential development that may happen?
That sounds like that's already fallen away, so.
Oh, is it?
And we received a letter today after they sent all those public notices out, so I directed Megan, you make sure you contact them and say they're responsible for the cost of sending that stuff out. So, yeah, absolutely, no problem. They were very cordial and whatever, apparently, maybe I can read you the email that came.
There's a potential of like eight units.
Dave can probably bring you up to speed too, that, Dave and Ross, they're both on plan commission. We received an inquiry for acquiring that land, and they were looking to do some more workforce development housing. They've got a pretty good track record from what I could see throughout, but anyway, the long and the short, they applied for funding in 3 different areas. It sounded like the two, they can only apply for 2 in a given period of time. And,
That was one.
Civic Street.
just came through this afternoon.
Second option.
Anyway, they were denied funding for the 3rd location. They're only allowed to do in 2 other communities, and those were approved, and ours was the 3rd one coming in, so it was denied. But we did send out public notices for they wanted to move quickly on this because they had to apply for the funding, so we had to notify all the property owners within 200 feet and whatever. This was a apartment complex development next to the public safety building to the south.
So would they apply next year and do it?
Yeah, he said it could be as possible as of next year. I can't find the doggone.
Did they actually purchase the land already?
No, I think that was contingent upon them getting the funding. But it was a sizable, it was like, what they wanted to put up would have brought in like $240,000 a year in property taxes. So, and that type of thing, they said they would be equal or better than what was put up on Sunview. And they would hold a higher level of percentage for the people that, as far as the financing rate and whatever that would go into the thing and whatever, so. Rents would be even higher than what they were getting on Sunview.
Oh, the plans look good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they've been a company that they don't just put them up and market them, and they said, no, they customarily hang on to them for 10, 12 years and whatever before they move on to the next project, so.
Is that dependent on federal money or?
Yeah, grant money.
So that's-
And they were only able to go to the well 2 times in 2 years or something like that, and they had 2 other commitments elsewhere, and it didn't turn out, so. Ours were turned down.
So a different developer could potentially do the same application?
Absolutely, yeah, if they could go in for,
Was that one developer ever, did he ever consider that, since that wasn't up for sale? One that did all the, whose part?
when we had that conversation that one time, we kinda offered him up, but I don't think he's a guy that, I think he wants to build on established streets where the infrastructure is all there, ready to tie on. I don't think he's one of these guys that wanna get into the, because this is expensive, let's face it, if you don't have a community that's gonna help you with it, to extend water and sewer and what have you for housing development, there's not that much money in marketing homes, though he was doing pretty well at it, but, and of course he bought these super right out here, fully developed lots for $120,000 a piece for those lots he was buying up, so you're never gonna fall into that again, you know, not anywhere around here, I guess.
Okay. Anyway, is there any old business? Is there any new business? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion, motion by Dave, second by Ross to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion is carried.